I coached this kid in college. He played football. His name's Hubert Payne. He's an incredible drummer. His dad was a professional drummer. He had a desire to coach people through trauma. And because he was in the music industry, there's a place in Nashville, it's basically where the country music artists go for rehabilitation. And it's big business. And they went to him and said, we want you to run our coaching division. And I'm like, man, you're not ready to run the coaching division because you don't know how to do this. You're going to screw this up. How many of you have ever heard me say each speaking engagement should be worth $250,000? Your first thought is it's going to come through an offer that I make to the audience. It's very seldom are you going to do $250,000 from a speaking engagement. Unless you have a large sample size of people, you're very skilled at conversion. The $250,000 is going to come from a relationship. And it may not come in a year, it may be over the next 2 years. You see where I'm going? So you got to open your mind is, I have people. Now, what can I do with these people? Okay, if you come today and all you think of me as a coach, and that's what Coach Burt is, he's a coach. I've worked hard to show you I'm more than just a coach. By doing what, Heather? What have I done today that would show you that?
A lot.
I've embedded a lot of stories. I'm on this board. We're raising capital for this. This is why we're doing this. I want people to know on my break, if you saw my TikTok, it's like, hey, I'm here at the Greatness Factory in Nashville today. I'm having a lot of fun coaching person of interest, people of interest, or people of expansion. Okay? And right now, you could partner with me. Do you want a Greatness Factory? Do you want a Greatness Factory in your city? If so, just message me right now. You want a Confidence Factory? Message me. You want to be involved in a publicly traded company? Message me right now. See, that is marketing. Yes or no?
Right. Yes.
And that is actually, to your point, trying to change the narrative of he's just a coach. Okay? Because you can be multidimensional. Everybody see that? Most people will engage with you the way the first time they ever met you. So if I meet Heather and the first time I meet her, she's in the fitness world, that's the way my brain thinks. That's who she is. Until she changes the narrative and says, no, I'm really an entrepreneur and businesswoman and I'm involved in these things. Does everybody see that? You're not pinned into one thing. Like you're not just a State Farm agent. You're really an entrepreneur. You own State Farm businesses. You're really an expert at building successful businesses where the entrepreneurs earn more than $1 million of personal income. You just shown proof of concept by owning the business. See where I'm going? But it would be short-sighted to peg you into that because now I've commoditized you. Now you're just like, I'm thinking he's just like every other State Farm agent in the country. And that's not who he is. So it's up to him to tell that story and narrative over and over and over about who you are and what you do. And that's why I was asking you, Tony, like if I had money and what could I do with you today? So RJ, when you guys created that, my brain goes to, okay, you got a skill. You've packaged it into something that can explain it. But my brain immediately goes to my skill set, which is monetization. How do they make money with this concept? Who would buy it? Who is the buyer? Who would pay them? How much would they pay? Because that's a big missing structure I see for a lot of people. A couple years ago, I was coaching a drummer for Little Big Town. Little Big Town is a country music band. I coached this kid in college. He played football. His name's Hubert Payne. He's an incredible drummer. His dad was a professional drummer, and he brings a lot of fire, and he's a totally different drummer than everybody else, which is why Little Big Town had him. But he had a desire to coach people through trauma. And because he was in the music industry, there's a place in Nashville called, I can't think of the name of it, but it's basically where the country music artists go for rehabilitation. And it's big business, real big business. And they went to him and said, we want you to run our coaching division. And I'm like, man, you're not ready to run the coaching division because you don't know how to do this. You're going to screw this up. You can't compete with the therapist. The therapist is where they make the money. If they see you as a threat, you're going to be out. And I'm trying to coach this kid and how to put together a deal with this big group because they have them in Malibu and here in Nashville. And this is where all the major stars go to rehabilitate when they've got a drug addiction or they got a problem, right? I was like, you need to let me help you. And he wouldn't. And I said, this is a big, huge mistake. You don't know what you're doing, and you're negotiating with a person who does this professionally. And I'm like, just let's partner. Let me come in and structure the coaching. And he never would do it because he was stubborn on that. And guess what? He screwed the deal up. Because he got in there and the therapist saw him as a threat and they said, this is the way we make money. He's out. It was a huge opportunity. Okay? I mean, huge. Because those artists not only needed the rehabilitation, they needed coaching. And it's different than what a therapist does and what a coach does. Does everybody see this? Right. So what you guys were talking about there a minute ago, I'm like, okay, how do we take this? What problem do we solve? Do we take it to somebody like that? And it's a program for somebody like that is in the rehabilitation business? Do we take it to a mental health hospital? Do we take it to mental health professionals? See, the brain has got to go, who would pay for this? And we have to follow the money, right? We have to follow the money. See, when I started with the kids thing, Jerry, I tried to take it to school systems. I tried to take it to governments. There's too much bureaucracy. So I go, why don't we go straight to the parent? The parent will pay for it for the kid, not the school system. Is there millions of dollars available in the school system? Yes, but it's incredibly hard to get to. Okay? So after I tried that, that's an experience I bring to the table. It's like, hey, that's a lot of wasted time and energy. Let's go straight to the entrepreneurial parent. If we get 50 parents paying $400 a month, that's $20,000 a month. That's $240,000 to start right there. Everybody see that? Now, how fast can we get the business to $500,000 with ancillary services? And some of those services could be a sports psychologist, could be a therapist, it could be high performance coaching, could be one-to-one. See where I'm going? Now we're in the game. But if we don't know the fundamental relationship, and that's really the relationship that we're talking about here, and what is the fundamental relationship? How many times we talked about this? It is between what, CJ?
Your skill and their ambition or problem.
And the best book on this is called Total Cash Confidence by Dan Sullivan. Anytime you're not selling, quit focusing on you and focus on other people. See, here's the skill, here's the problem, here's the concept. So if the concept for them is the psychology of expansion, the expansion gauge, okay, that's the skill creates the concept. Now we got to go find a problem or an ambition. That's where the money's made. So if Steve comes to me and says we want a confidence factory in this little town in Alabama, my first question is it too progressive? Would parents pay for it? How much would they pay? Would they pay $397 a month for their kids to go there? Could you get 50 kids? See? You got to follow the money. And then it's like, okay, when this exchange happens, this is where monetization takes place. So right now, Tony is not clear in this and this. Who has the problem or the ambition that would be willing to pay? If it goes back to Sheehan's wall, remember, here's your one word. Your word is this. If my word is activation, it's like, okay, who do I activate? Could I activate millionaires that want to be billionaires? Could I activate? Who could I activate? Who needs a boldness? Do I activate teams? Do I activate kids? See? Take the assessments. Who's the target market? Where's the big money?
In assessments?
Yeah. The big money, in my opinion, is in licensing. The big money is in State Farm says we're going to roll it out to 17,000 people. Just like predictive index. That's the big money. It's not one-to-one. It's not you take it, you take it, you take it, you take it. It's, hey, we got, right? How did Bob Berg sell The Go-Giver? Companies bought 15,000 copies at a time. How did they sell Rich Dad Poor Dad? Amway people bought it. And once one person bought it at Amway, thousands of people bought it at Amway. Because they said, this is a book you got to read.